And we're back with another episode of Life Changing Challengers. Again, my name is Brad Minus. I'm your host if you're just joining us. And with me today, I am super excited to have Shane Jacob with us today. Shane is the founder of the Horsemanship Journey, which is coaching programs, and it's also a podcast that he started. And he works with teens and parents to manage their minds, which we're going to definitely talk about. But first, let's get to the good stuff. Shane, how you doing today?
Brad, thanks so much for this opportunity. I love your show, and I appreciate the chance of being able to be here with you today.
Well, I'm honored to have you, especially some of the things that I've read about your story, which we're going to get into. But first, Shane, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, maybe the complement of your family, where you grew up, and what was it like to be Shane as a kid?
Yeah, sure, you betcha. I grew up throughout Utah, a beautiful state. My family's from a ranching family. We spend our summers and part of the school year in one county. And then as we moved our sheep and horses to the desert range, the whole family migrated to Utah County, and we changed schools and we went back and forth that way. I feel like I had a pretty good upbringing. I didn't have any specific traumas. I feel like everything was pretty much okay. I came from a very religious family, and so we had a lot of rules. And I have a big family. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. My mom was a busy lady.
Wow, 8 kids.
My dad was an only child, and so when he married my mom, they decided right then and there, before they even began, that they were going to have a big family, and so, mission accomplished. I'll say this, that, basically, the trauma in my life is I created it. And so, as I got to be a young man, and I'll say into my teens and even into my 20s, for whatever reason, and perhaps maybe we all do to some degree, maybe a little bit more as we come into our own, as we're growing up and teenagers, adolescents, and we're making the change to adulthood, I had these thoughts in my mind that I just didn't know if I was okay. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was less than. I thought that I was deficient. I really thought that I was not the same as everybody else. And I can't explain where or why I had a lot of these predominant thoughts.
So let's just ask a couple questions just for curiosity's sake. First of all, 8 kids, you're the oldest. How far are you from the youngest?
Well, that's a good question. Boy, I'm a long ways away. I have a daughter that is older than my youngest brother. So we have a pretty big span. The first six kids, or 5 or 6 kids, are just about 2 years apart. So that'd put us 10 years apart. And the last 2 were kind of stragglers way out on the end there.
Everybody's same mother, same father.
Correct.
Wow. So is your parents still together?
They are.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And that goes to tell you, the whole big thing going on today. They talk about that, dysfunctional families and all that is because the father's leaving the nest and everything else. But it's a testament that, people that are in, I think, our peer group, we've had nuclear families and people stayed together longer, but that's fantastic. So when you were moving county to county and you were moving let's just call it herd, for lack of a better definition, because I don't know, did you find that there was a settling in period between each county, or did it happen so much you picked up where you left off, or in both sides?
I've struggled with that as an adult for a long period of time, but especially when I was a kid, it didn't matter. It seemed like every year with every class and every grade and everything, it just, as I struggled to fit in, and these were just feelings inside of myself. It's not what people, in looking back, I think people received me and did the best that they could, and teachers and even classmates. I don't, felt like I fit in and everything, but it was a struggle for me because super shy, having these thoughts of, inadequacy. Am I okay? Thinking something's wrong with me, thinking I don't fit in, thinking I don't measure up, thinking whatever I'm thinking that's causing me to, withdraw, be quiet, and just really, have a hard time settling in. And we're doing that, every year, a couple times.
Yeah. Oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense because you're constantly having to hit that stress both buttons. But by the time you're kind of maybe settled in, then you switch and now you got to do it again. So, I mean, that definitely could cause some issues as far as I'm concerned. Did you play any sports or anything in high school, or was it just the fact that you're between two counties all the time? That didn't.
No, I was able to, yeah, I played football. I wasn't the greatest football player, but I played football in high school and I wrestled. I was a pretty good wrestler.
Nice.
And so, you know, when I fit into groups, I really tried to fit in, and I did fit in, and I felt like I was part of my peer groups, and that kind of helped me. And I felt a little bit bitter of that, but I fit in. But, you know, sometimes I found myself doing things that were not, you know, consistent to what I believed in. Sometimes I'd, you know, tell lies to be able to fit in, and sometimes I'd, you know, just do kind of whatever was happening to be able to fit in. But the big thing that happened to me, Brad, was that when I was 15 or 16, I think I was 15, well, it was the first time I experienced alcohol. And all these inhibitions that I have, and all this thought that was uncomfortable and fearful, and all this uncomfortable, difficult feelings that I was having, game over, problem solved. I found my answer, my solution right there. And so, you know, I didn't realize it at the time. I just knew that felt better. And I found myself over a period of years, as I went into my 20s and went through, tried to go to college and tried to make it on my own, and ended up getting married at a young age. And I thought a young age, I think I was 22 or 3 or something. And all of this time, I'm coming back to alcohol when I don't feel good, because that was where I kind of found my way to feel better about the, you know, the problem that I had that I didn't know how to cope with, and the thoughts that were going on inside my mind.
Yeah, you thought you found the answers at the bottom of the bottle.
That's where I found them.
So, yeah, you know what? I think a lot of people follow that, follow that thing. I was like you when I was younger, except that I think because I was an only child, my parents found that, they figured it out and kind of misdirected me in another direction. But I was exactly like that. But I was on the wrestling team, I was on the track team, I was on the cross country, and when I was with those people, I was fine. But the minute that they were gone, I was like, okay, now where do I do? Where do I go? And I definitely connect with that thought. But my dad was so strict about education and everything that it was they figured it out and directed me into other things. So, but I imagine that, with 8 kids, sometimes they can't recognize that in every single one of you.
I was good at hiding it, number one, and number two, I think when they did find it out, I was pretty good at evading it and trying to be my own person, my own adult, and go my own way. And, pretty soon I just, left the nest and I was to my own. And so this pattern led to a 20 plus years of daily drinking to excess. I mean, seriously, to excess. I left a trail behind me of literal destruction and pain and suffering. That's what happened. And that my, at the time, inability to deal with me resulted in so many people. The worst part of my story is, is what I can't change. And that is the people that suffered as a result of my decisions, which are many and deep and painful and permanent. And so finally, it took me a long time. And I say, by the grace of God and with the help of horses, I was able to break free from this cycle, because as I'm doing this, and it was a progression, it progressed. And finally, in the end, I was drinking so much, I was barely able to, function. This whole time I'm functioning, I'm paying the bills, I'm trying to pretend everything's okay. And around me, everything is disintegrating slowly. As my progression is increasing, right? I'm building up tolerance over years and years. I can drink so much in a day. It's just, I was on a show with a medical doctor, and she, proclaims it's a miracle I could even live through drinking that much on a daily basis. And I believe it. I mean, I thought I was I went to a medical detox the one time when I decided that this was enough, because, you know, I really truly believed that I would have a seizure and die. Just come, my body and my brain and everything about it was addicted to this. And meanwhile, I don't even know what's going on. You know, I'm living in this alcoholic haze. And the most important thing is my relationships, the close relationships with the people I love are just slowly just disintegrating. Because here's the deal. You just can't, you're not present. I can't show up and be present in a relationship when you're, you know, swacked all the time and just living in this fog and haze of alcohol. You're just checked out. And it had so many negative repercussions that, you know, eventually I just destroyed these relationships with my children and my then wife. And it goes on and it gets worse. And every day, okay, at a certain point, every day I'm waking up and I'm going, man, I have to stop this. I have to stop this. I'm waking up later and later and staying up later and later and getting less and less done. And my money's going down, and I'm beginning to see even through this haze that everything's not going well. And I've had, you know, I was locked up for multiple times. You know, I was incarcerated. Those things are, you know, and so all of the behavior that I'm doing as this going is further fueling my ideas of inadequacy, that something's wrong with me. I am literally doing actions that are proving my thoughts to be true. Now, let me tell you something, that when you do that, and in addition, you wake up every day and you recognize that you're doing something that is not consistent with, you know, to be right, and then you just go and do it again the same day, again, day in and day out, month in and month out, year in and year out, it changes you. And it is not a good kind of change I'm talking about right now. And it's painful, you know, and it's difficult, the things that we can do. And so one second.
I want to step back just one real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to gain a connection here with the behaviors that you're talking about, and the adjectives that you're talking about with the pain and everything. Can you tell us, give us a typical day, you know, kind of in the middle of this journey, you know, before you've kind of realized that, hey, I'm doing something that's way out of my character?
The day in the life of?
Yeah.
In about the middle of it? Okay.
Yeah.
So probably somewhere along the middle, I was drinking probably, I don't know, let's just say 18 beers in a 24-hour period. So in the middle, I'd probably wake up and I would gain consciousness at, let's say, 10 to 10:30 a.m. I would spring out of bed in a fog, get my clothes on, go get in my horseshoeing truck, go to work. In the middle, I was probably waiting until 4 or 5 in the afternoon to start drinking. And then I would, you know, drink as I continued to work, because I started so late and I'd have to work so late, or I thought I did. I was just constantly working all the time, trying to keep up with my life. And that's what I did. You know, that's what I did. I focused on my work. I could go to work because I couldn't really deal and be close and be vulnerable and have good connections with people. So I went to work. And so that's what I did. And so I would go to work, and then I'd be drinking from about 4 o'clock. And then in the middle, I'd say till, let's say, about 1 a.m. By now, do the math on that, on about 18 or 20 beers, however many that is per hour, you know, not that many, 2 or 3 or 4 an hour, you know, but it's over a long period of hours. I ate one time right before I went to bed, and then I'd conk out at, you know, 1 or 1:30 a.m. There I go. I'm checked out, totally unconscious. Boom, 10:30, 11 again, up, and that's a repeat, day in and day out. And that's kind of the place I was at in the middle.
So you were working as a farrier?
Yeah. I'm, you know, one of the things that I've done for my life, I've been blessed to be able to work with horses, which is what I love to do. And one of the things that I do as a farrier, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, because the way you were talking about was shoes and stuff. So that was just part of your job, or was that pretty much your job?
That's one of the things. I've had a a horse feed business here in Las Vegas, Nevada for a long time. So I was also doing that on the side.
Okay. Well, the reason why I was asking was that it's just because basically, remember, I'm not too fluid with this, we'll call it a culture of horses and ranches and stuff like that. I've been on them. I've ridden horses. I love it. And which is one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you. But so as a farrier, you're shoeing horses, take the shoes off, get them back, scrape through, put them back on again. So it's just you and the horses.
I'm dealing with clients, but
yeah.
A lot of times being the horses. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're on your own there to deal with your own demons a lot. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is true. Yeah, that is a lot because, I'm dealing with clients. I'm talking to clients. Sometimes clients are present on site. A lot of time, and most of the time, I preferred it if they weren't. But there is a lot of time that I'm going throughout the day. Yes, I'm on my phone taking care of things that, our feed business. And yes, I'm talking to clients. And so there's interactions, but I'm to myself a lot.
Okay. So, all right. So that just gives us a good connection there with what you're doing, the drinking, and then, getting up for work late and that whole bit. That seems to be a typical story. But the fact that it lasted so long with you is quite amazing. So let's go forward. So we've got an idea of what your life was like. We got an idea of the amount of alcohol you were consuming. So what was that? What was that final piece that just said, nope, I'm done. I got to get help and let's go. Was there an incident? Was there a story? Did something happen that just made you turn that corner?
There was so many things. There wasn't a smoking gun. In addiction, a lot of time we talk about people hitting their bottom, come crashing down. I feel like I'd hit my bottom kind of every day for a long time. And I was just kind of powering through the bottom, I finally recognized that I was on the verge of a divorce after a 17-year marriage. And so that was a big one because it kind of came to me as a surprise for some reason. I mean, I guess it seems kind of silly saying that right now, but I didn't realize the condition of my marriage was so bad. This whole time, I've limited my ability to earn. I've limited my, you're just like slowed down. You can't progress in life anywhere, right? I mean, I'm getting by and going through the motions and doing the stuff. But I finally recognized I came close to another brush with the law, is one thing that happened in addition to recognizing that my marriage. And finally, I realized that, and I visualized myself just dying, what I consider to be young. I was going to be maybe 50 years old, or I honestly didn't think I'd live past 55 because I thought that level of alcohol consumption on a consistent basis was I was going to kill myself, but by alcohol before I reached the age of 55, and I was just going to die drunk the way that my life was going right there. And when I started to really think that through, in combination with this close brush with the law, which I did not want to have any more of those, and the prospects of this, divorce after being married for 17 years, I started to think about it. I started to think about what was going to happen if I didn't do something. I started to think about the change. And Brad, I thought about making this change for 8 or 9 months. And I don't mean just in a casual way. I thought about it for some amount of time every day for months. And I plotted and I planned and I thought things through. And, and I didn't know if I could do it. I did not know if I could do it because all I hear in the world at this time and everywhere I turn is I hear relapse, come back. Oh, you were sober for X amount of years and now you're a sloshed up drunk again. And this is the noise I was hearing inside of my head is consistently, go to an AA meeting and, sometimes it can be motivating and a lot of times not so much. And so I really thought and planned, and I had as much resolve. You know what I had resolved in my mind? I had resolved that I was going to give it what I could, and what I was going to give it everything I could muster. That's the only thing I knew. And you know what? It turns out it was enough. I didn't know, but in retrospect, that's the whole thing. You don't have to know. You know, you just have to have faith in yourself that you're going to give it all you got. And that really was the key. That really was the key, because finally, I thought about this. I even planned the date. And I'll tell you, it was the second Saturday in January. And my brother and I had been to a clinic, a horseshoe clinic in California. And it was the same as every other day had been for 20 years. I started drinking in the morning, and I drank all night, all the way back. We got home at 11:30. I went to bed late. I woke up late, but I had it planned. I got into this old truck I have. I already had made arrangements, and I drove myself to a detox because, like I said, I was afraid that coming off alcohol was going to, that I could die from the withdrawals, that I was going to have a seizure, and I had the potential that I could die, and I didn't want to die. So I drove myself down there and checked myself in, and that was a humbling experience because I'm kind of think, I'm the boss around here. I'm running the company and doing my own thing, and that was a humbling experience for them to, take all my personal stuff and take my phone. But I let it be okay, and I went, and I stayed there for 3 days and 2 nights, and they monitored everything and saw that I, whatever they do, this process, that I was okay, but physically, right?
Right.
And so I drove out of there on the 3rd day, and the first thing I did is I went to AA meeting. Now, I'm not a huge AA, I believe in AA, and I support Alcoholics Anonymous. I haven't been a huge participant myself. I have some participant, but not in a major way. But I did go to a meeting that day. I drove straight to the meeting, and somebody put their arm around me and said, "You look like hell. Come with me." And, kind of took me under their wing. And the only thing that I knew that day, that I knew I wasn't going to drink that day. And I knew that I was going to give it everything that I had, and I did. And so at the end of the day, I didn't drink. And I carried that thought with me until I didn't need to think that anymore.
Wow.
And I never went back. Never went back.
I can paint parallels to that in a much smaller way, but that is amazing. That's where we start. So I'm sure you've probably read about it, but that I'm an endurance coach, and I help people get through some of these big challenges. A lot of times they use those challenges to step up their life or to take care of adversity, or, it's something that's much bigger than themselves. And this is kind of something that I'm hearing from you. But what you said before was, hey, I'm going to give it everything I've got. And if it's enough, fine. And if it's not, then I'll pick myself up and I'll give myself the best shot I can. And that's the whole thing that I give to some of my clients and some of the groups that I train. I'm like, hey, you're going to get onto that start line. You're going to give it every single thing you've got, and you're going to leave it all on the course. And when you're done, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a stronger athlete, and you're going to see things inside yourself that you've never seen before. And, 9 times out of 10, I'm right. And it's amazing what comes out of it. And it sounds like you took that at a much higher scale, but so it works. This is an ideology, a methodology that can work for a lot of people. It's just that one thing that you want to do. You wanted to give this up. You wanted to get off alcohol. You said, I'm going to give it everything I've got. My clients say, I'm going to go after this certain goal. I'm going to train, and then I'm going to get it everything I've got. People that want to get ahead in business, they say, I want to get to this place in my career, and I'm going to get it everything I've got. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but somewhere down the line, it works.
Still right.
I lost your video.
Still right here with you.
Yeah. So I give you that. So what were the next few months like?
Yeah. Let me just say this. Let me comment on that, Brad, because whatever your scale is, it just doesn't matter, because what you're talking about is a huge and important concept, just like you described. The thing of it is, it's like, well, if that's what it takes, then why aren't we doing it more? Or why aren't we doing it sooner? And why didn't I do it sooner? And I mean, I think a lot of times what I hear from people and I see in myself when I look back is, you know, we just don't think that we can do it. Or maybe we just, we think that we're going to fail. We think it's going to be too hard. We can see ourselves not getting it done, or it looks too hard, or it looks too painful, or if it looks, it's just too much. And the big thing with me was one of the things that kept me is that I didn't want to fail, and I didn't know I could do it for sure. And I wanted to know that I could get it done for sure. And you can't know that. I mean, there's no way to know it. This idea of faith is a big, important concept, but the thing of it, all you have to do is to truly to believe in yourself that you'll give what you have at that moment. And if you do, that is enough.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think what you're explaining is that you're not going to succeed, or you don't know if you could do it. It's fear. And we all have it. We all have it. It's the brave ones, right? What is the definition of bravery? Bravery is being courageous despite being afraid. It's courageousness despite fear. And I think that's the component that we miss a lot of times. We keep telling this to our friends and our families and everything. Oh, just get over it. Oh, face your fear. Or what do they say? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You can't do that. Fearfulness is an involuntary response. There's nothing you can do about it. You can be brave. You can psych yourself out to being brave. And that's where I think a lot of people kind of get that misconception, is it's not whether that you can do it or not. It's the fact that you are fearful that you're not going to be able to. And sometimes we have to think, thinking about where you got to go in your life and what happens. So, if you fail the first time, so what? Brush yourself off and try again. And I think that's some things that we're missing in today's environment. And I don't know where it went, because when you and I grew up in that area, now I know you're a little bit older than me, not much, but a little bit older than me. We didn't, it was, if you got hurt, if you got hurt, rub some dirt on it and move on. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, where did you get hurt? Oh, let me put a bandage on it. Oh, you could have a paper cut. Oh, sit over here and relax and take a load off. That's too much for you. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think you remembered it. And I think that's probably what, finally you're just like, I'm just going to get everything I got and I'm going to move forward. So that's what it was like.
I just want to say this, that, when we think about courage, it sounds good and we all want to be courageous. When we think about it, it has like a positive tone to it. But, it doesn't feel very good. It's pretty hard, and it keeps us, we want to be courageous and it sounds good, but it's feeling that fear and moving through it that's what holds us back a lot. It's what has held me back for long periods of time. And when I hear people, it's the chatter that's going on in here. And one thing is just not being willing to go through that discomfort.
Yeah, it's the suffering that people don't want to go through. I'll be quite honest with you. So I've done 5 Ironman triathlons, and I'm just about to I'm doing my 6th next week. And it's the first time I'm going to do one in 6 years. And 2 of those, I had a goal in mind that I wanted to get to. And when the suffering started, instead of continuing on to that goal, I just resounded myself, you know what, the suffering started, I'm not going to make it. Let me just see if I can finish. And I just resounded myself to, all right, let me just see if I can finish. When I had done 3 before, I knew what to expect. I knew what to go forward. But because of the fear that I'm going to have to do this suffering and I'm going to suffer a lot more because I'm going after a time goal, I'm not going to make it. And I did. And I totally resounded myself to, well, that's not going to work. Let me just see if I can finish. And like I said, a lot slower scale, but it's still, it affected me. And then finally, the last one that I did in Maryland, a few years ago, I'm like, nope, And I resounded myself to that. And it was by the conditions were the worst conditions I ever got. And I ended up taking 90 minutes off my time, which is huge. So, but I knew that I was going to be suffering. I knew that I was going to be hurting, and I knew that was going to be it. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to face it. And yeah, so it's a learned response. It's something that, that you got to do slowly. You dig in a little bit here, get a success, dig in a little bit more, another success, dig in a little bit more than that, a success, and you start realizing what your potential is.
You guys are incredible, man. 90 minutes because of, sounds like in part or mostly your mindset. I mean, just to be able to do a race like that is incredible. I ran my first half marathon last year, and that was, I thought I was doing something. I mean, you guys are incredible.
Oh, congratulations. That's fantastic. No, there is nothing. I still freaking get hurt. I still feel it during half. So do not belittle that. It's just a little bit longer out there than what you did, but that's fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's step back in just a little bit. So you finally made this corner, and you decided, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. What were you doing to kind of to quell the temptations?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because it was there. I mean, it was there, and they slowly dissipated over time. The first few months, I think, were the most difficult. And I just, drinking as much as I did, it takes a lot of planning and it takes a lot of work. And I was trying to hide it from most of the world. And so that takes a lot of planning and a lot of work. I mean, my alcoholism is it takes a lot of planning. And so now what I'm doing is I'm changing my habits. And if you think about this, remember I said this is over 2 decades of drinking to excess on a daily basis. And let me tell you something, I didn't miss any days. I mean, I'm a 100%er. 2 days in a 22-year period, I did not drink alcohol. In those 2 days, I was hospitalized. So, I mean, I didn't miss any days. Now, just think about this. The people that I know, the way that I live my life, the lifestyle, all of my habits, everything is made up around drinking, people that drink alcohol and, buying alcohol, handling it. And I mean, the whole process of what do you do with, 24 bottles of beer every 24-hour period. And so, I mean, it's a lot. And so now it's a slow process of change. It didn't just change. I mean, there's things I didn't even know. I mean, and I didn't know what I had been missing. I started just to move away from it. I started to slowly move away where I could, trying not to be offensive to people that were in those circles. And when I saw alcohol, I just went the other way. The thing of it is, if you're watching on video, I can pick up one of these, which is a Coke bottle, or I can pick up a bottle of alcohol. Doing the picking up and drinking, it's not a big difference in which one it is. The big difference is all happening here. So as long as my thoughts are a little bit ahead of my actions, then I'm doing okay. And every day I'm just giving it what I thought. Over the next 14 or 16 months or something, I also lost 45 pounds. And, over a period of years, this did not just happen and blink my eyes, but over the period of a few years, I kind of got myself together, and then I started to try to get caught up of the time I missed. Now, I'm not going to miss. I can't get caught up. I can't go back and get those times. I can't go back and fix those and do things different in those relationships. I can't have those opportunities back that I missed. I can't take some of the things I can't fix. They're just not fixable. Only God can fix them. You know what I'm saying? I can't make them well. And so once I do everything that I can do, there is no more fixing. So the only thing that I can do is work on me, right? Work on me. But I have to tell you this, and that is, I want to go right back to the beginning of where we started this story, because the thing of it is this. When I talk to teens now, when I talk to adults now, what I hear is, and I have come to believe that the thing that started me down this path that caused so much pain and suffering for other people and myself were thoughts about myself. And when I hear from teens, and you know what? They're thinking, hey, do I fit in? Hey, am I okay? Hey, am I as good as the rest of the world? Am I worthy of this? You know what? And we're trying to figure out, and you know what I hear from adults, Brad? You know what I hear? I hear the same thing. At the core, and I had somebody on my show, Cheryl Green. You know what she said? She said that she believes that every negative human action, every negative thing that you could possibly do or has been done, at its core comes back to the way that person has a negative belief about themselves. And you know, when I thought about that, I have not been able to figure out how that statement is not true. Now, that's a big statement. That is a huge statement. Everything negative action that you do has to do with how you feel about or believe about yourself? Really? Now, let's just say that's true, because I believe it's true. I don't think that you can prove it's wrong. If you could, I'd like to know it, but I don't think that you can. Brooke Castillo, the owner of the Life Coach School, it's the biggest life coach school in the world, has been a life coach for as long as life coaches have been around, for over 20 years, and coached literally thousands and thousands, I don't know, tens or hundreds, lots of thousands of people. And you know what she says? At the core of everyone I've talked to with all of their problems and issues is their personal worthiness. So, and you hear this, but I don't think that we really put enough weight on it. You know, in my case, the way that I handled it poorly, and people suffered, and so did I. Okay. But the thing of it is, to some degree, just like you said earlier, this is my thing. If I believe that a lot of us look at this kind of relationship with ourself, or let's just wrap it all up in one thing: self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, the way that you believe, the beliefs that you have about yourself. Okay. We'll call that self-confidence, your beliefs that you have about you. A lot of times we like to think that, you know, that we got that done when we were kids. You know, particularly men, we don't want to show any weakness, man. We got it. I am a confident dude, right? Because you know how they are over there. You can see what they're doing, and that is how unconfident people act. You know, they're constantly trying to get attention to themselves, and that's how they act, not me, right? But when it comes down to the core of the things that I'm not getting in my life, when I really peel that back, what I'm going to find is that something down deep inside of my heart and soul is that I'm really not sure if I'm okay. I'm really not really sure if I truly believe about me. And it's not something, I have come to know that it's not something that you get. It's not something that you acquire, an attribute that you have in your back pocket. It's a lifelong process. Because here's what happens. You get to feeling pretty good about yourself, and you're going along and things are pretty good. And then something will happen. And what do you know what I mean by that? Something will happen to us, or we will do something that will cause us to go, hey, whoa, what does that mean about me? Right? And a lot of this stuff isn't even conscious thought, right? And so then we start feeling bad, and I'm like, and it kind of goes like this. And then we kind of need to intentionally take care of it to get feeling back, to get us to be okay. So my thing in life is, and my message to the world, and I shout it loud and clear, is that your relationship with you is paramount. Your relationship with you isn't something that you get. It's something that is very important. It's probably one of the most important things that you can do. And I recommend to commit to a lifelong pursuit of loving you. Because the thing of it is, you're priceless. You are worthless. You are the same as me, the same, no matter what I've done or no matter what you've done. And here's the deal. You've done some stuff. Okay. I mean, I know the stuff that I've done. We don't want to talk about that right here, right now. All of it, right? But all of us have done some things that we have some shame about, and this and that and the other, until we learn how to separate what we've done with who we are and have that not be the same thing, and let us be okay and be able to forgive ourselves and move through shame and truly believe that we are imperfect human beings and be totally okay with it, that is how we can truly make progress in the world. And I believe this to the extent that I don't just think it's a good idea and your life's going to go better and your relationships are going to get better. You're going to have more success in everything because all that's true. It's all true, but that's not why. I believe it's more than that. I believe it's our responsibility and our duty to commit to this work of loving ourselves, because here's why. Because unless you do, you can only love and give to the people that you care deeply about to the degree that you love and care about yourself. And the same thing goes to be able to make your full contribution and reach your potential in this world. You can only do it to the degree that you believe and love in the human being, in the unique, individual, priceless person you are.
Wow. That's powerful, Shane. And I agree 100%, because if you don't have self-worthiness, how are you able to give that to somebody else? You can't. It's transactional, right? Your self-worthiness is the cash, and you can't give cash or anything valuable of yourself if you don't have it yourself to start with. I can't give my spouse, my friends, my brothers and sisters, I can't give them that if I don't have it to give. So the only thing you can give them is surface. You can only give them the surface of yourself. So that is completely profound. And
let me just say this one thing about that. I used to not believe that. I used to hear, well, you can only love as much as you can love yourself. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I can love somebody else if I choose to. Love is a verb. I can do what I want. It has nothing to do with me. And I really thought that. I mean, I didn't understand it. But when I fully understood it, and I won't go into a long story about it, but when you fully understand what it means to have positive beliefs about yourself, okay, and to love yourself unconditionally. And you know what? 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I can't even believe that these words would even be coming out of my mouth. You know, I could not look at myself in the mirror and say, I like myself. But you know what? I'm okay with me. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you are or not, because I am, and I'm okay with you. And it doesn't matter what you've done. I'm okay with you. So, but back to what I interrupted you for, it truly is. You must know that you can only give to the edge of what you have inside of you to give.
Yeah. And otherwise and you can say it, you can believe it to your core, but the basic is that if you don't have it, if you don't have that valuableness about yourself, you can't give it to anybody else. But you can sure act like it. And that's what it is. The difference between truly believing, truly loving someone and not is, if you don't do it yourself, you're just acting. And you've got to be honest with yourself enough to do that. So yeah, we can go on about this. We can go on about this forever, but I would like at least a precursor or something, a nugget of when you finally realized it. Where were you? What were you doing? What was the aspect where you finally realized that, hey, you know what? I have worthiness about myself. After going through 20 years or plus of you knowing that you didn't feel right about yourself, that you didn't have that self-worthiness, what was that turning point?
It's the kind of like there wasn't a smoking gun in the thing, Brad. It was, I heard it because I fed myself influences, from the books I read and the people I listened to and the podcasts I listened to. And I listened to those people and I took pieces. And it was a process over a period of time. And the same thing can be true. I mean, that if you choose to fully understand this idea about changing the beliefs that you have about you, there's steps that you can do. I mean, there are takeaways. I'll give you a couple right now. Number one is what we call make a promise, keep it. What that means is be careful about the commitments that you make to yourself, because when you tell yourself that you're going to do something, it's important that you follow through with it, because you need to be able to trust yourself. And so when you make commitments, first of all, make commitments and really mean it. Don't fleetingly make commitments that you may or may not keep. When you make a promise to yourself, keep it. Make a promise, keep it. Make a promise, keep it. The more that you keep the promises to yourself, the more that you can trust yourself, the more that you're producing evidence for yourself where you're the kind of person that you can trust. That's number one. And this is the second one is a simple, we have 6 steps. I won't give you all of them. I'll give you a couple. I don't know if you have time, but I'll give you one more quick and easy one. And we know this, but really to take it in and pay attention to it and be intentional about your thoughts and your language that you use about you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I dropped that. I'm such an idiot. I'm such a klutz. Oh, I didn't do as good as I could. I never follow through. On and on it goes. And so even using humor, this self-deprecating humor, you can take it too far. Words mean things. Those thoughts and words. And here's the measure, okay? If you say or think something that you wonder if you should be saying or thinking about yourself, if it is not something that you would say to someone that you deeply care about, it's not something that you want to say or be thinking about you. So if you're thinking about it, think something else, because you can change that. And if you're saying it, say something else. Say something that you would be happy, that you'd be proud to say to somebody that you deeply cared about. Those right there, they actually make a difference over a period of time. You'll move the needle to the person that you believe that you are. And I'm telling you, wherever you are in the needle right now, it doesn't matter, and it's okay. Because wherever you are, wherever you think you are, whatever value you believe that you have right now, you're 100%.
If you say you can't, you won't. That's basically what you're saying right there. The first takeaway that you gave as far as making commitments to yourself, making promises, and make sure you keep them, that's a muscle. And I want to put that out there right now. That is a muscle. If that's not something that you're used to doing, if you make commitments to yourself and you don't find yourself keeping them, then you need to build the muscle. So in other words, there's all these programs out there and they say, oh, you need to practice gratitude every day, produce gratitude. And then people will be like, all right, I'm going to take the next 30 days and I'm going to practice gratitude. But if you've never kept a commitment to yourself, if you've never fulfilled a promise to yourself, that's too much. And you might think, oh, it's only 30 days. No, it's too much. You make the commitment that you're going to do it tomorrow. And then you do it. And you're like, okay, I made it. All right. Then you say, I'm going to do it the next day. I'm going to do it the next day. And when you get to a week, then you say, you know what? I've been able to do it for a week. So I'm going to do it the next 7 days. Then you've done it for 2 weeks. Then you can say, I'm going to do it the next 2 weeks. And then you commit that. It's not going to happen if I sit there and I go right away and I go, I'm going to make it 30 days. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to challenge myself to get to do this when I've never, ever done it before in my life. In this case, what I'm saying is in this case, people that, are kind of self-deprecating and that they don't speak to themselves in the right way. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to start slow and make those small commitments, get the win, and then move on to something a little bit bigger. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure if you've never done it before. I can give you another instance of this is I used to, and I still do it, but it's more one-on-one now, but I used to work at a hospital here, Tampa General Hospital, and I used to do a running program, and it's for people that have never run before in their life. And basically what it was, 0 to 5K, you start, and it was a 12-week program. Let me give you, for instance, you know what the first workout was? It was a 5-minute walk, 3-minute run, meaning, and I always told them, I says, if you can't talk when you run, you're running too fast. It was another 5-minute brisk walk, 2-minute run, and another 5-minute brisk walk. That's it. 5 minutes of a run at a conversational pace, very slow. And then what we would do is every workout after, we'd add 1 minute, just 1 minute to each one. So you keep that promise. So they learn that, hey, Kate, I can do 5 minutes. I can do 7 minutes. I can do 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It just slowly grew. Same thing here, and that's what I believe. And I just think that you can't wake up tomorrow morning and going, okay, well, I'm going to make this promise to myself that I'm going to practice gratitude for the next 30 days. And you've never done it before. What do you think?
I think that a lot of times another word for this is discipline, like self-discipline. And when I say self-discipline, what I think that just sounds like a lot of work. It sounds painful. It sounds hard. I don't know, man. But the thing of it is, look at the other side, okay? And a lot of times this will help, and that is to see what happens if you look back on things that you told yourself that you're going to do that you didn't do. It feels terrible. It feels terrible. And then you start wondering, then you start taking meaning from that. Then you can start believing that's the kind of person you are, and you never do what you say, and you never have time, and it just goes on and it goes on. And I think what you said kind of goes to, we were kind of saying the same thing in that when I said, pay attention when you make a commitment, because really make it a commitment. Am I are you all in on this? Don't just do it lighthearted. Don't just do it without a lot. Make a commitment. I am going all in on whatever it is. And so if it's a smaller goal, you'll have probably a higher success of getting it done. But so I agree with you 100%, but go all in and make it intentional and then do it. And every time that you do that, and you're going to not do it all the time. So you have to just know that up front, and it has to be okay. And you have to accept that about yourself, that you're going to do something, you're going to make some commitments that you're not going to get done. Just know that. And that's just going to be okay. Okay. But you don't want that to be your norm. You want to really think things through and plan and be intentional, and then make that commitment, and then go all in and do it. Make that promise, keep it. Make the promise, keep it. Just like you suggested, Brad.
I love it. I love it. So tell me about you turning the corner and then starting to be a life coach. And then what brought you into starting to bring teens and parents together?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of my story. Nobody has to go as long as I did, and if I can help somebody to know that they're okay, and if those thoughts don't lead you down a path, because a lot of times we're trying to get away from what doesn't feel good. We're trying to solve the difficult because we don't know how to go through it, and we don't know how to make meaning about who we are. And so all the things that are my story are something that I can speak to, and I can understand, and I can relate to kids and people, because I've made plenty of mistakes, and I've practiced my mistakes until they're perfect. And so that's why it all came about. And we combine, horses in this, and it's kind of the magic of horses. We use 4 principles to guide our mind management, and they're principles that we're talking about right here. Faith in God, faith in ourselves is what we're talking about right here. And yeah, we show how horses demonstrate these principles. And so we incorporate horses in there, which is kind of the magic to it. And it's kind of fun to see how horses demonstrate the same principles that we're talking about. It's kind of a neat combination people really resonate with.
Wow. Yeah. I can see that. I've spent a little bit of time around horses, and I've loved every second of it, but I can definitely see the parallel. These majestic creatures, and when you're around them, everything's a little bit different. They kind of rub off on you.
Yeah. Horses are pretty incredible. They're a gift. They're pretty magnificent creatures. They're one of God's gifts.
Yeah. I'm gonna totally embarrass myself right here. Well, which is negative self-talk, but I'll do it anyway. I just got caught up in this old series that I think might have been on the Hallmark Channel at one time, but I got it on Netflix. It's called Wildfire. And the only reason I got caught on it is because the whole series is based around a horse called Wildfire, and about a couple of feuding ranches that are training thoroughbreds. The only reason I watch it is to watch the horses. I swear to God.
All right.
And that's just recent. So it's interesting how sometimes there is a little bit of a paranormal thing that here I am You know, I'm just got caught up into this thing to watch the horses, and I get to meet you. So it's kind of funny. So, but yeah, so Shane, really powerful stuff. You guys, you have to check out Shane's website, The Horsemanship Journey, and his podcast it's pretty recent, right? What do you got? You've got 20 episodes, 15 episodes?
Yeah, 25, about 25, 30, less than 30.
So I love it. You've actually interviewed a couple people that I've had on as well. So check out The Horsemanship Journey wherever you get your podcasts. And he's got some great articles up there. And he's got a coaching program with which I don't know, would you call it a retreat?
No, we have an online coaching program. We do have a couple of live events where we actually bring the horses and do that a couple of times a year. But our stable living program is an online coaching program for teens and parents.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, and he's got four core principles: faith in God, faith in self, responsibility, and communication. It's pretty amazing. So you definitely need to check it out and give it a shot if it's something that resonates with you. You know, if you're looking for that next step in your life, you're looking to find your potential, Shane's got your back. And check out his coaching program, and you just might be able to, you know, find where that potential can lead you. So Shane, and you're on some of the socials, are you?
Yep, we're pretty much everywhere. The Horsemanship Journey is on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, X. What am I missing?
Yeah, it looks like your biggest ones are on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Is that correct? Yeah. So I will put all of that in the show notes. I will put thehorsemanshipjourney.com in the show notes, but it definitely is. It is thehorsemanshipjourney.com. You need to visit this website and check out what the offering and the coaching program, because it looks amazing. He's got a couple YouTube videos up there that are definitely something to work out on. So, but other than that, Shane, man, some really powerful stuff. I so appreciate you telling us about the journey. I know you revisiting that past could sometimes, you know, it could be a little bit rough, but to know that you're willing to share that journey with the rest of us, it means the world.
Brad, thanks so much for the opportunity. I appreciate being able to be on the show, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. And for the rest of you, please go ahead and seeing this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, you know, or dislike if that's what you want to do. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a review, whether good or bad. I'll take the feedback either way, because all I want to do is make this better. My idea is just to give people one nugget per episode you can take with you and utilize to make yourself into the person you want to be and to find your next step. So until then, we'll see you in the next one.